Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of DVD Diaries. Today we're going to be talking about film adaptations and we're going to be talking about Twilight, New Moon and Little Women, the 2019 version by Greta Gerwig.
DVD Diaries with us and Rachel.
And we're very, very excited because on this episode we're going to be introducing our first ever guest, Dasha, who's one of our best friends and one of our housemates. We're having her on the podcast. Our first ever guest, so that's very exciting.
Book enthusiast, film hater, although I'm going to change that.
Yeah. Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about Today we're going to be talking about book adaptations, and we're going to be talking about like why the books are so good, and then the adaptation, like how it encapsulates the magic of the book so well, and like what gets lost and what is changed and what new perspective the director puts on the original source material in a modern day setting.
How sweet.
Guys, we are very, very excited to introduce our first ever guest on the podcast.
I'm more excited.
Dasha!
I'm more excited than all of you. Hi, everyone.
Dasha is our expert on books and why they're better than film.
Yes.
So we thought this would be a very interesting opportunity for us to invite her on the podcast so we can just start arguing.
Yay.
Yay, and Dasha is...
I'm not a film bro. I actually hate films.
No, and that's really interesting because obviously this week's episode is about film adaptations from books. So I just thought we'd start off by asking Dasha some questions because I just thought it's good to have a balanced point of view.
Yeah. I mean, the right and the wrong ones, obviously.
She's not a book expert, she just has an old soul. She just, hates films and loves books.
Yeah.
Mainly.
So Dasha, I guess my first question is, why do you like books so much?
So I think the reason why I like them so much is because when I read books, I actually can imagine stuff and my imagination, like, keeps going. And I can't do that with films because, like, what do I imagine? It's all on the screen. And so I have a very good imagination, I feel, and it's really interesting that I can watch a film in my head that I created. And I can't do that with films, so I prefer reading books. And I also have a rule of never watching, like, film adaptations of book that I've read, mainly. Because then it, like, spoils my film in my head that I've created with my imagination. I can never go back and remember what I actually imagined, so it's very annoying.
I do get that. Because it feels like you've, like, built up a world in your head and then you watch, and, like, it's never going to be the same as what you imagine. Like, that's really
If you had, question to both of you, if you had a book and, like, a film about the same thing, which one would you do first? Read first or watch first?
I think I'd probably read it first if I had the choice.
Sorry, we're sharing a mic. See, I'm the opposite, like, because I'm such a film guy. I watch a film first, and then if I really give a shit about the film, I'll read the book. And I normally end up liking the book more, but like that's like, because a film is also
because you don't like reading.
It's like less, I feel like it's like less dedication to watch a film than it is to read a book. So it's not like you're dedicating hours and hours of your life to be like, well, that was a bit mid.
I mean, I do read books, but I don't read as much books as you guys would think. So that's an important point. But I also do not watch as much films as these guys do. So, yeah.
I guess because, so you've said, surely you have seen lots of, like, film adaptations of your favourite books, though. Like, if you had to pick a favourite film adaptation out of your huge catalogue that you have.
I haven't seen many, because, again, I have the rule of, like, probably the Mortal Engines.
What?
Mortal Engines?
Mortal Engines.
Hello?
Yeah.
Am I? Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
By, whatever his name is, I'm so sorry, author. I don't remember, but what's your favourite film adaptation of a book?
Probably Little Women. What we're watching today.
I have not seen Little
That's
Women.
in my top 4.
Neither have I read Little Women. Shoot me.
Yeah, but like I think with Little Women, because it's been adapted before, but I actually find the book a bit. It's a good book, but it's a bit like painful in places, just because it's so like in such a patriarchal setting, and it's all like, and like the sequel's called Good Wives. Yeah, so it's like, but there's also other sequels called Little Men and Joe's Boys, which is quite funny.
I did not know this. It's crazy.
So yeah, but I don't know. It's tricky because I feel like lots of things get like lost in translation between like books and films. Is there a really? Do you think? Because it's a really interesting topic. Because I'm just thinking with like have you seen the new stuff that's coming out about Wuthering Heights?
Nope.
adaptation. Well, basically, there's a new Wuthering Heights adaptation coming out, and it's got Margot Robbie in it. And I'm not a huge Wuthering Heights girl, so I can't remember like the ins and outs of it. Basically, lots of people are cross because Margot Robbie is about, I want to say 40 or 45, roughly.
Is she?
And
She looks amazing.
She does. But the main character in Wuthering Heights is supposed to be in her early 20s. Ooh. And with lots of like things have got leaked about like her costume and stuff. It's very, very, it's really highly sexualized, and it's basically very unfaithful to the original book. And I'm not really sure. I assume there is a Wuthering Heights movie that exists, but I haven't seen it. But I assume this isn't the first time. It can't be the first time it's being adapted into a film, surely.
Probably not.
But lots of people are really, really up in arms about how they're literally just throwing out the original material and like putting this horrible like Hollywood like raw like sex like violence like onto this film, onto this book, well, that's not. But do you think that do you think that directors have the creative license to do that if it potentially, like, because obviously a film adaptation, I do have a point in mind. The film adaptation is obviously going to be some people's only interaction with the source material. So I feel like it is really important for the directors to really, really, like, respect the material they're working with and be faithful to it. But, like, how much do you think how much creative freedom do you think the director has?
That's a great question. I do not think that it's, like, possible for the film director to, like, make the book as the author would want it or as like fans would want it to be. I do think that it should be creative freedom, but I don't think that it should kind of go as far as it probably went with the film that you just mentioned. And I do think that it should be kind of I think the director should just try to make it as accurate and as like book realistic as possible and think of like, oh, what would the author like and what would the fans like? But I also think that they should have some, leverage because they have not written the book. They just want to kind of have their own view of it.
It's interesting because my favourite book adaptation is The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky, and he wrote the book and then he directed the film, which is like crazy. So and like I like the book way more because it's just more detailed and it makes the characters like more adults. Like the main character Charlie like smokes and he drives and like he just has more like agency. Whereas in the film he doesn't, but like that's a really good adaptation. But I think it is because it's like obviously he knows the source material because he fucking wrote it. So like I don't know, it's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to include this, but I know that with 50 Shades of Grey, I know that the author of the film was like the author of the book was in like production of the film, and they had to like shoot scenes specifically for her and then specifically for like the director who wanted it their way, and like it was really tough. And Dakota Johnson was talking about this, how like it was really annoying that there were two different perspectives on set and it was really difficult to like decide on what they were going to do and then include and then do, because the two people just had completely different ideas. And yeah, it's very difficult for directors and the like actors and actresses to like be in that and balance.
Thanks. I feel like the other thing is that with the Harry Potter series, I feel like Harry Potter is a really, really good example.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's a shame the creators are freak. But with the films, the problem with movies is that you have, like, obviously a huge time constraint. Like, I guess movies can be 2 hours 45, but, like, beyond that, you're really, like, that's pretty much your limit. So with a lot of the Harry Potter with a lot of the Harry Potter books, like I think Goblet of Fire is like this thick. Like those books are so, and obviously if you have to cut out that much material, then like so many characters, like characterization in the films just like goes out the window. And I think, I mean, the Harry Potter films are iconic anyway, but it's stuff like with Ginny, like you lose basically all of Ginny's character. In the movie, she's basically just like a really flat person who does literally nothing except just like is in love with Harry, apparently. Like she doesn't do anything. In the book, she's actually really interesting, and you get to know all the other side characters so much more, and like so much of that gets lost when they make it into films, which is why I think it's really exciting. I actually think it's exciting that it's being made into a series, because I think that's the right way to tell the Harry Potter story. Because just because I think because it's the stories are so long, in order to get the narrative and get the key bits, because I think the films were pretty good in like extracting some of the key bits, but I think so much of it just got lost. So I think like redoing it. I mean, I don't think they should be redoing it, but like, I'm glad if they are redoing it that they've decided to do it in a different format and not just make the films again and go into a TV series, because I think we'll see a lot more of like the characters being like actually fleshed out, and I hope it's not a complete like really bad.
Yeah,
that would be embarrassing, but like hopefully it's all right. But I just think,
Ash,
why do you disagree? Is it because of J.K. Rowling?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, obviously, but like.
Also, it's an old IP. I just think no, like fucking leave it alone. She's a transphobic scumbag, and I hope she trips and falls on her way home and scratches all her face up.
I mean, yeah.
And I think they should just leave like nostalgia points in the past. Like, I agree that like some like obviously detail gets lost, but you're not going to spend time in a film like in a book where it's just like characters sitting around and like this is what music I listened to, and then I like. Oh, and then I sat around and wrote, and then, like, I like that in books, like, in New Moon, I think, and, like, all the Twilights, I think it really adds to, you know, Bella's character, but, like, you just lose that in films, and sometimes it's just, like, unneeded.
No,
I don't know.
No.
But what do you think, Dasha?
I think that it's too different. So I think if you want to, like, build a character, and if you want, like, a good... I think books are just way more, they have way more space and, like, for anything, really. But I do think that films have like probably a bigger impact. So if I probably read Fight Club, I do not think that I'd be that like impressed with it.
It's because have different like techniques. And
exactly, because it's all the people. It's like music directors, costume directors. It's like everybody coming in to do that amazing like scenario or just like a script. And if it was a book, I don't think I could not. My imagination could not ever visualize and do that the way that they did, which is why I so appreciate some films just being films and never being books, or some films being great film adaptations and books being good but you know probably not as good, but perhaps rarely, because books just have a bigger scope and bigger space to do.
Because I really wanted to talk about in this episode like we came up with a list like 4 or 5 films we wanted to talk about, we just don't have enough time. But I'm assuming, have you read the Chronicles of Narnia?
Probably when I was
Like,
very
The
little.
Wardrobe and the rest of it.
I don't remember reading it. I definitely watched the film a few times.
Well, it's so we'll talk about this in a future episode because it's really one of my favourites. But it's one of the really few times I can think of where a movie was made which was just completely loyal to the books. I think one of the only things that irritated me is that with the technically the third one, but with the sequel to Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, Prince Caspian, they give like the oh, that's terrible from me. Anyway, whatever they're called, they're like these people who like invade Narnia.
We'll put on screen.
Yeah, and they have these really annoying accents that aren't anything in particular. They're just like, they just made the accent up basically, and it sounds really stupid, stupid. And you've got Ben Barnes, who's like the prettiest man ever, and they make him speak in this ridiculous accent, so he just sounds stupid because it's not an accent.
Right.
It's very annoying, but like that's the only change they made, which was like different from the book. I don't know how they managed to do that, especially considering like what the source material is. But it's so possible to create a really good, and it was made in the like 2000s as well, so like looks nostalgic as well, and the CGI isn't even that bad.
Yeah, I do think it kind of takes away from the director's perspective, like, well, how can I go with that story and how can I improve it or make it my way that I want it.
Like if you're adapting a story, like there's no point telling it again or making it the same, because then why the hell are you doing
Exactly,
it?
you're visualizing it for me. I want to do that with my imagination, thank you.
You've got to make changes.
Yeah.
Which is why I think I actually really like, for example, this is not related, but it's just like the idea of like reimagining a story. With the Little Mermaid live action that was made, it actually bombed at box office. I did research on this recently and it did really badly. But I don't think it should have done, because I think with some of the extra songs that were written by Alan Menken, they were really good, and they really like, you got to see so much more of like Eric's character, because in the original movie he literally was just there to like, he didn't do anything, he was just like there, and he just fell in love with Ariel, and that was his only. But you got to see much more of his character, and like you got to see much more of like his background, and like even just like the diversity in the characters was just really, really lovely to see, and the rest of it. So like it was really nice to see I can't remember who directed it, but a new director's vision on it. Yeah. But sometimes that's not always necessary, valuable, or like isn't executed properly, because
and isn't popular.
No.
I have a good.
Especially, and it's really
Yeah.
tricky because when adapting a book, especially if it's done really well and is really well loved, it's really tricky because obviously the people who've read the book are probably going to see the film, so it's a from a financial perspective, it's a good thing to do because you already have an audience. But it's like if you're like touching something that's so like well beloved, like Wuthering Heights, everyone feels like the Brontes are like royalty, and they're like, how dare you like disturb their like memory,
Right.
and they're like treating it like taking it so personally. You know what I mean? So it's like it's a really difficult thing to execute, but it definitely has happened. But it's just like very interesting to hear a literary critic's thoughts.
Yeah, I actually have a good question for Ash. If you, as a director, imagine you're a director, how would you go about directing? Yeah, I mean, impossible, but yeah. How would you go about directing a film based on a book that is like well loved?
I mean, it doesn't even come from the director, really. I think it's up to the screenwriters as well.
Yeah, but say you were like in a writer's
You're
room
responsible for it.
Say you're the director and you're sitting down in a room full of screenwriters and they're coming to ask you how you want to go about this. What do you say?
I'd say let's be faithful to the story and what the book is trying to portray, but you can take your own thing and run with it. Like, so The Social Network is based on, not to be a David Fincher glazer all the time.
No,
but
never.
It's based on a book by Ben Mesrich called The Accidental Billionaires or something. And then Aaron Sorkin took it and he kind of adapted it and blah, blah, blah. And then, like, I don't know, it's just like, you can use the book and go off, like, some costume design decisions or locations that are important. But, like, you can change things to make it your own.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I think that's kind of key, because it's...
How much would you change it, though?
It depends on it. I'd make it my own, because if you're too faithful to
story.
the book, then it's like, well, what? I don't know, people could question, like, well, why'd you make a film out of it? Or people are going to be upset with you either way. People aren't going to like your
true.
That's
casting.
very true.
People aren't going to like your, why'd you choose this line for this scene? It's, why's her dress red? Why's no one's ever going to be happy, and the book fans, I sound really northern right now, but like the book fans really, like Twilight fans, for example, I'm going to talk about New Moon in this episode, like really did, like, people fucking hated the casting for Edward. People hated Robert Pattinson.
Really?
They wanted, like...
That's iconic now.
And now people love it, and I feel like you can't please everyone. Like,
No.
you just got to make shit your own sometimes. I just do what I want.
I think from a film perspective, that's a good view.
Yeah. Do you get upset when, like, things are changed from your book, though?
That's why I rarely watch them. That's why I rarely watch them, because I cannot, yeah, I just can't, I trust my imagination. I like doing that a lot, which is why I even read books. And as much as I like the story, I think I can like it from a book, and I don't need to watch a film on it. But yeah, I do get upset, but I also I just don't do that for that reason.
I guess the best film adaptations are ones that manage to find what was so magical about the book, and they managed to, and that's really hard because it's like it's probably subjective to each person as to why they like the book so much. So you need to like identify that, and then when translating it onto like film, which obviously just a completely different medium, it's like a completely different beast. Figuring out how you can enhance the story with stuff like score, like cinematography, like colouring, maybe running with some ideas that are in the book, or like creating something that's really bold on your own.
It's just such a fine line.
It's so tricky, and I just really understand, and it's so interesting as well because in the climate that we're in today, I was watching this video essay on how the like I would say like English industry, but that's not, book industry,
Right.
I'm so film coded at the minute, I can't think of the word, but like in the publishing industry, I suppose, there's a real issue with like TikTok and like BookTok and how that's like destroying writing basically, because if something goes viral, it's going to sell. So it's like we need to so now they've come up with a recipe for what makes a viral book, and now that's kind of a lot of that's getting the resources to be printed rather than actually good writing. which is like a huge issue, and then that's being made into films. And I think a brilliant example is Colleen Hoover. Her books are going viral, selling out, and she's getting movie deals before books are even being released. Like I think with Greta and You just came out, apparently it bombed at box office, so that's nice, I suppose. But like, you know, like with the most prolific example is like obviously It Ends. What is so funny?
We're just me
Yeah,
too.
I know.
Oh my god.
And like obviously like It Ends With Us, like the amount of like crap that film like I haven't seen it, but the amount of
I've heard so
amount
much.
of press. I'm very up to date on the legal side of it, but and I read that book and then I just read it and was like, who read this and was like, yeah, let's turn it into a movie? Who? Who
Who the fuck?
I just don't understand. Yeah, it's just I think. Yeah, I don't know. It's so that's interesting as well, because then it's like which books are being turned into films and why is that happening? Because then when those movies bomb, because shocking, they're actually not very good, people then are turning to older source material and being like, oh, you know what, let's just do Wuthering Heights, or let's just remake Disney films or whatever. You know? You know what would be really... This is such a good thought I've had. You know what would be so good, and I think should be the new thing, is turning... I know this is just called fan fiction, but like turning like films into books instead. I think people should do that more the other way around. And I know that's definitely
Have we seen that done?
I mean, probably, but I don't know how successful it was.
Right.
Because can you imagine that if there was like a film? Because I feel like a film's really good at like exposing characters and then exposing and then like turning it into like a film. No.
Well, I mean, that is just fan fiction, and that's what 50 Shades of Grey is.
Actual stuff.
50 Shades of Grey was a Twilight fan fiction.
I burnt my hand.
Please insert a video clip here of Ashley.
50 Shades of Grey was a Twilight fan fiction, and then they got made into a movie. Like fucking how many
And isn't it
movies does
great?
50 Shades of Grey have now?
It's like 3, isn't it?
And then
3.
back to film and
I don't know.
back to fan
It's like
fiction.
50 Shades Darker.
50
and
Shades
then-
of Grey, 50 Shades Darker, 50 Shades Freed.
Yeah.
Oh, we're
Thank
not
you.
all up to date on it as Dasher is apparently.
Hi! I read the book. Believe it or not.
I actually watched a documentary on 50 Shades of Grey. We'll get into 50 Shades of Grey. We'll invite you back for a 50 Shades of Grey episode.
Yes, please!
So, like, yeah. But your opinion on films, I'm trying to change it.
And he's doing so well. Fight Club is my new favourite thing, and Get Out is my second new favourite thing. So
Yeah, on Halloween, I woke up early to watch a horror film because I was going to work. So I was like, oh, let me put on I want to watch a horror film on Halloween. And so I put on Get Out, and Dasha was like, oh, I'll watch this for 2 minutes while I'm eating my breakfast.
Yeah.
And then she was like, oh, wait, I've got to go and get ready, but what happens next? What are they going to do? Is this going to happen? And I was like, you know what? I'll pause it for you, love. Like, go and get ready. And she was like, no, you don't need to pause it, but what happens? Like, and I'm like, right, I'll pause it. And she was like so invested.
it was really, really good. It was really, really good. Part of the reasons why I don't watch many films, because I think, like, I know how you say the books is like very... Like, you're so invested and you spend so much time. I find that with films, because you can't, like, obviously you can pause it, but you really can't. And, like, I feel like whenever, like, you're watching stuff, like, one after another, I'm like, oh, like, I literally cannot start watching this with you because I'm going to be here for the next 2 hours and I actually need to do shit. Well, with a book, I can just, like, bookmark. I know where I am. I can always, you know. That's why I love books, and I'm reading one book that I've been reading for God knows how long. Yeah. And it's, like, I'm still up to date with it, and that's why I don't really... Because, like, I can't sit down, watch a film and do something else, but I can read 15 pages of the book, do something else, and come back to it whenever I want, which is why I just love books.
No, I agree.
Read books, everyone.
I completely agree. And that's why I usually prefer films, series, like a TV series to like
Fair
films.
enough.
Because I think that way you get to spend so much more time with the characters, and you get to, you have to, just because you have so much more time, you like can like develop emotional connections to them, and then like there's so much more room for like character arcs that feel like they're not rushed, or because I just feel like I do think that there just isn't enough time. Obviously there are really insane examples. I'm not just saying that all films are shit, but I think where like examples, I don't know, I just think people are usually so much more loyal to characters more than the film. Do you know what I mean? Like potentially in like TV series, like you feel like, you know, they feel more real because you like see them more and you see them develop over like several years.
Friends is a great example of that.
I mean, obviously, like in like a franchise of like films, that's different. But I still think that that's why I am more inclined to a TV series rather than a film, and I'm still that way because you get more time with the character. I feel like someone's gonna disagree.
No, but like
I disagree.
My favorite TV show ever is NBC's Hannibal,
As opposed to Netflix's Hannibal. Yep.
And it's based off obviously the Thomas Harris books, like Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal, Mindhunter, not Manhunter, whatever. And that, like, because they couldn't get the rights to the Silence of the Lambs book or like the characters, so they couldn't have Clarice, who obviously Hannibal is in love with in like Silence of the Lambs and like all the books and shit. So because they couldn't have Clarice, they kind of put Clarice's character in Will Graham, and so they made Will Graham in love with Hannibal, and it's this whole different thing, and they made the show way different. And cause they couldn't get that character, and because she's in Will, I think that makes the show like actually I haven't read the books, but I've seen synopsis, but 10 times better than the films and way more interesting, like a way more interesting character. But obviously because you get to learn, like, they have such a complex love story and relationship, like over 3 seasons, like 13 episodes a season, or like an hour long. I feel like series is just different that way, especially with adapted from books and like these already established characters in like the public, zeitgeist.
Yeah. Obviously, it just depends on like the length of the book, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because with like Gatsby, some would think it was easy. Apparently not. Yeah, throw shade there. Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I like the old one. Anyway, it's just like when it's so. What if it's like Goblet of Fire? It's like this big. I don't know why that's the only. Lord of the Rings, I guess. But those are films as well, aren't they? I don't know. But you know what I mean? Like a really. It just depends on like it basically just depends on the source material. Because it's like if it's a huge book, good luck adapting that successfully into like a film. But if it's that's different if you're adapting it into a TV series, or if it's like a smaller book.
What's
like Summer Turned
book
Pretty
adaptations, Dasha?
She's already given us one.
Or like, do you just not watch them?
If I do, it's accidental. No, it's literally accidental. Yeah, it's either like a very incredibly like Hans Christian Andersen thing, and I just read the books as a 6-year-old, and then I watched the film because I forgot what I read and what I imagined, or it's just accidental. I really try not to, because
Would you want any of your favorite books to like be films, or like really like don't touch it, or like this is my favorite book, I would never watch the film in my entire life?
My problem is not with the films potentially being shit. My problem is with them not being the way I imagine characters to be. And the second I see the way somebody else has imagined a character, or if I Google a character and it comes up with a picture, the picture that I imagined is erased from my head, and I find that so annoying, and I cannot deal with it. And I'd rather have that in my head and have the book and have a film in my head, because I have a good imagination. I'd rather have that than watch a film and really enjoy it and be like, right, but I cannot remember what I imagined. Because like that's the whole point of books, and that's how I feel my brain is developing, and I'm doing something good for myself, is I'm developing my imagination.
Yeah. Okay, so
technical difficulty.
Shock. So
Not again.
What I was going to say is that I think the other thing. So the reason why I really, really love books, and why I sometimes am more inclined to read a book than I am watch a film, is because I hate it when things are spelled out in front of me. And I feel like when it comes to films, sometimes just because audiences are stupid, you have to spell things out like so blatantly. But in a book, it's much easier just to like kind of drop hints and like weave it into like literally like the words in the narrative and whatever. And I think that's a lot easier to do. And the other thing is that when you asked Dasha like what books would you not want to see adapted, and I think I don't mind that early adaptation of Great Gatsby into a film, but generally I just don't think it should be touched, because I think the reason why Gatsby is so great and one of the greatest like literary accomplishments of all time is because of the way it's written. Like you cannot try and translate that into film, because that's just not the point. The point is like the language and the devices that he uses and the narrative, and that's just basically impossible to translate into film, because it's a completely different beast and a completely different thing. And the other thing is that with books, I find it a lot easier to cope with really, really harrowing stuff. So, like, I read Beloved last year for uni, and if anyone doesn't know, it is one of the most harrowing things I've ever had to read, and it's basically about slavery, and it is by Toni Morrison, and she's an absolute genius, and the way she writes is just insane. And I don't think Beloved's a film. It might be, but I would never ever go and see it in a cinema because it would feel so. It would first of all it would be really like traumatic because you're actually having to see like what the horrible things that are happening, but also it just wouldn't work because of the way the narrative is, and like the rest of it just wouldn't. It just
won't work, guys.
It just wouldn't work because that's the point. Like the whole, like the narrative, like the language. It's the language that makes it what it is. Like obviously the fact that it's really heavy subject matter helps, but it's the language and it's the way. You know, and you can't do that in film. It's a different language. It's different for some cases. Like for Beloved and Gatsby, I feel quite strongly about that. But obviously, with a lot of other books, I think that's probably. So yeah, how long have we been talking for?
Yeah.
32 minutes. Right, fuck off, Dash.
Get out.
Podcast. No, wait.
Oh.
So everyone say thank you, Dasha, for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, guys.
Yay, that was so good. You smashed that. Can I go first?
Go on.
I've done like a million pages of notes
Yeah,
once,
go on.
guys. You guys will be so proud.
I owe you for last week.
Okay, look, that.
Wow.
And
Rachel took notes for once, guys.
this.
Oh, wow.
And I don't think I did anymore, did I? No. Okay, so the film that I picked for, and we're going to do different, this is like such a huge topic that we're going to do like multiple parts of this video. So we've chosen 2 films as normal, but obviously there are so many more ones we want to talk about, like Perks of Being a Wallflower is one that you really want to talk about, and I really want to talk about The Witch in the Wardrobe. Like there are so many other films we will talk about in future episodes, so maybe you should subscribe so you can see them when they come out. Stay tuned. So the film that I picked is Greta Gerwig's Little Women, which was released in 2019, and of course that is based on Louisa May Alcott's classic Little Women. I don't know when that came out, but 1800s, late 1800s. I should have googled it, but I didn't. This morning when I was thinking about like Little Women, I decided to do some research into like the original book because I have read Little Women, but I read it ages ago. And I remember it being, I guess, slightly painful in that because it was written, you know, in the late 1800s in America, a very, very like misogynistic patriarchal place. It is very obvious in the writing that, you know, it's like, oh, like the girls did some sewing and then they skipped off to do the washing. You know, it's like kind of,
as all good women should.
Yeah. And like the title, like Little Women, it's like, and then the sequel's called Good Wives, and it's kind of like that kind of thing, which we don't love. But I do remember reading it when I was a bit young, so I probably didn't appreciate it as like a literary thing. I probably just found it like boring. But I went and I looked at the original, and something that's really interesting is that Little Women is almost completely autobiographical of Louisa May Alcott. If anything, but it's really toned down from her life. So like her mother, in the movie and in the book, she's somewhat, I guess you could maybe potentially call her like a pushover, but she's very, very like really attached to these really, really strong like morals. Like when Amy burns Joe's book, which is like the most valuable thing she has, the mum like turns to Joe and is like, you should forgive Amy. And I, you know, every time I sit there, I'm like, no, Joe, don't forgive her. Like, Amy, that was a terrible thing to do. You should not just turn around and forgive her within 2 seconds. That's so wrong, especially when the emotions were raw. And that's also what you said when you watched it. But in real life, Louisa May Alcott's mother was a huge radical. She was an abolitionist, she was a feminist, and she was brilliant, and she was a really, really cool person, especially in such a horrible like patriarchal setting. All the sisters are based on real sisters, and the only sister in Little Women that has the same name as real life is Beth, which I think is really cute. Yeah. Like the only and also
did she die in spoiler, did she die in real life?
I think so.
Oh damn, okay.
That might be a lie. I'll check that. And I just think it's so interesting because it's one of those books where it's really tricky for us now to try and find out which of it was which parts of it were real and which parts of it weren't. It's obvious that it wasn't completely autobiographical because obviously a bunch of the names are changed, extra characters are put in, and time's kind of messed up a little bit. But it's stuff like the house is the iconic house where the girls all live is pretty much a complete replica of the original house Louisa May Alcott wrote Little Women in.
Oh, wow.
It's like the exact same. So I was watching a behind the scenes thing, and it was basically Greta Gerwig and the girls and like their production designer and stuff like going to this house and saying how valuable it was and how it's actually a really cool story. So basically, in real life, they actually moved into the house after the Civil War, and they moved in once Beth had died. So, and all the wallpaper was hand painted by the girls, and when Beth was like really ill, she would watch her sisters like paint the wallpaper before they moved into the house. And their father did not serve. It was Louisa May Alcott who served in the army as a nurse, and she was one of the first ever women to like be a nurse in the army.
Wow.
So the whole story of like the father being ill and the mum rushing off was actually Louisa May Alcott was the one who was ill and the mum rushed off to, is really cool. And anyway, so this house was bought in 1857. It was already 200 years old. And basically it's really cool. In the early, I think it was in 1911, around that time. But after Alcott's death, the house was basically really, really falling apart. I mean, it was falling apart in the 50s, and now it was like 60 years later, and it really was falling apart. And the neighbor saw that it was up for sale and saw little girls with like copies of Little Women like peering in the windows. It's really powerful. And she saw that and was like, this is like and because the house is literally the entire anchor and setting for the entire film, like film and book, it means a lot to a lot of people, and it's a really, really valuable place. So she got together one of the first ever like committees of women. I don't know what they called themselves. They said, yeah, it just says saved by a group of women in Concord in the 1910s. Like they all got together and were like, nope, we're going to save this house. And they set up the Louisa May Alcott like trust. And they have like, and they still exist today. And they've like done a bunch of work to like make sure the house, because the house is like sinking into the ground, and they had to like lift up the house and put foundations underneath. So it's like a whole thing. But basically it's the every single element of Little Women is so unbelievably feminist, but I just don't think in the time, and it literally is self-referential in the film you can see how Greta Gerwig acknowledges Louisa's original narrative, but also acknowledges that a lot of the narrative was put in basically because a man was publishing it, and how things were happening to the characters that Alcott didn't want to happen, but she had to happen because she wanted the book to be published, and that the only way was to like get Joe to be married at the end. So it's just so cool because the real story is much more feminist than the book, and it was women who saved the house. It was women who still make up the trust now, and it was a woman directed it, and it's really cool. Yeah, Little Women. Yeah, as I said, like every single element of it is really, like really feminist. The girls, they serve their own narrative. They're not there for any other reason other to go on the journeys that they go on. And I was watching an interview with Greta Gerwig this morning, and she said she really wanted her lens that she wanted to give to the film. She wanted it to be about how they bring their brave girlhood into adulthood, because that's really not something you see much of in Little Women. The film that Greta Gerwig made is a combination of Little Women and Good Wives. It's like a mix of the two narratives, because you get Beth being ill the first time and ill the second time, and that's like a combination, and they all get married and have kids and all of that. It's over a really, really long period of time, which was 2 books worth. And obviously Greta's like non-linear approach was very, very different to I think it was 1994 adaptation. I've got that wrong. I also haven't seen the earlier adaptation. I really should. But I'm kind of, part of me is like, I feel like once you've seen one version of the film, it's very tricky to watch another and not be completely biased as to how good it is.
Yeah,
because I've already
like
got loyalty
bias
to this
as well.
one. Yeah. Yeah, and it's great because I feel like with the Little Woman story, it's really been told in 3 different parts. The first bit was what Louisa May Alcott lived. The second bit was the book that she wrote, and the third bit is the films that have been made since. And I think Greta Gerwig does a really fantastic job, because she wrote it as well. She did a really fantastic job of recognizing all three of those. So like the bits that she added in, like the speech that Amy says to Timothée Chalamet about like I'm never going to be able to, like, don't sit there and tell me this marriage isn't an economic hello, the marriage isn't an economic proposition, because it is.
Yeah.
And like she goes on that did not happen in the book.
Oh, okay.
That was Greta Gerwig sitting in a modern 21st century and being like, and putting, because as audiences obviously were so much more accustomed to seeing women take charge like that that just wouldn't have happened in. So you've got that bits that Greta Gerwig has like added in to the modern audience, and then you've got the fact that Jo had to be married at the end, even though it felt a bit funny for her to suddenly like start running after this guy. And yes, it was nice that she was married. I didn't
understand that plotline at all, but
but exactly, it makes no sense for Jo's character. Her character is that she doesn't want to get married.
Yeah,
and then she only starts thinking about, I was about to say marrying Timothée Chalamet, but she only starts thinking about like dating Laurie when she's like, actually, I'm like kind of lonely. You shouldn't get, and that's not a valid reason to like get married.
No,
you know, and that's the whole point. It's the fact that if she had carried on living her life where she's in the right, it would have been really lonely. She would have been so lonely if she did what's right for her. You know, so it's like, and yeah, so I already have a huge connection with this film anyway, just because, and I feel like a lot of female writers will say this, is that Jo being a writer and seeing her write and also put so many of her personal experiences into her writing. I don't know, I just feel like such a connection with her and her, just the way that the other thing I love about Greta Gerwig's film is that Jo is, she obviously she's a complete rebel, but not in a, like, she's not. I saw an interview with Saoirse Ronan, who plays Jo, and she was just saying we really wanted to make Jo not too boyish, because in early adaptations it's been so like tomboy, like. So the point is that Jo doesn't want any gender role. She just wants to be able to exist and do what she likes, rather than she doesn't want to do any of it. She just wants to do what she wants. She doesn't want to be like told what to do. And she has this, I can't remember who said it. I think it was Saoirse Ronan, but she said Jo's issue is that she has this Peter Pan mentality where all she wants is to just stay young forever, and for everyone else to want to stay young forever as well. She gets really upset when like Meg goes off and gets married, because that's not what Jo wants.
That's not what Saoirse Ronan
That's not what Saoirse Ronan wants. It's not what Jo wants. So why would anyone else want that? As I feel like generally in history, I think we forget. I know we learn about it, but I think we forget about how unbelievable. And I was thinking about this today when we were watching it. How unbelievably insane. And I'm so grateful to be born and to be living where we are now, because I cannot imagine 200 years ago and like being forced to like marry some freak when you're like barely 18 and being forced to just like do nothing and have no power over anything, and just like be forced to like have loads of kids and like and just have no choice over anything or power to do anything, like no financial control. Like I'm so lucky to be born in this country and able to like have my own bank account and like, you know what I mean, like it's, and I feel like we forget that it has only been 200 years of women having vaguely humane rights.
Women can't have a bank account till like 70s, right?
No, surely it was earlier than that.
60s or 70s. I swear.
I mean, we've only had the vote for 100 years.
Yeah.
It's like this the amount of change that happened in like such a short amount of time is insane when you consider about how like long civilization has been going on for.
It was a very like I watched this film for the first time today. It's been on my watch list forever. It was a very like I guess refreshing take, even though it's an old book and you know it's been done a million times, like on girlhood. I mean, I really like this film.
I think the thing is you say it's been done a million times, but I think the reason why Little Women is such a beloved book is that when it was written, it had not been done a million times. It was was like the whole like girls coming of age thing didn't exist. No one cared. Who would care? And you know, when the kids came in being like, Dad, like, where's the end of this book? That's how
Yeah.
Little Women got published. It was not going to be published because the men looked at it and was like, well, shit, no one's going to read that. But then it was the niece of the publisher who read it and was like, what's the end of this book? I need to know. And it was like, it was the young girls that got this book published in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's
No,
like,
I mean, like, the film's been adapted.
it's only like
Probably
twice,
a million. Oh, okay. Well, like,
if I'm
I don't know. It's just a nice take on girlhood, and I think I did really like this film. Like, I think it's aesthetically gorgeous, directing's great, everyone's acting is amazing. It's like star-studded cast. Meryl Streep, love
She's
her
so
in
good.
this. But
Yeah, you're leading up to a but. What's the but?
no. I think it's just because like, you were really emotionally affected by it. It was moving. It's just because. I mean, I do have a relationship with girlhood. Like, I'm transgender, so it's like, I was raised as a girl. I have, relationships to girlhood. But yeah, I just didn't feel that. I just don't have that, like, connection in my brain. But it was refreshing to see, and it was lovely because it was, like you said, the men are just like there, and like, it's the girl's story, and I found that really refreshing. So,
but the thing with the men about how they're kind of just there is. Greta Gerwig, she was in this interview and she said something really funny. She said, that's kind of what was happening in the books anyway, but it was never explicit. But she said what was really funny is that with her and I think it was her sisters, her dad would always talk about the awkward silence of like the husbands of the sisters and him, and like, or basically the women came in and made so much noise and were like kind of chaotic. And then when they left, the men were all just like, what do we do now?
what?
Yeah, and it was just like, and so the moment like when they all come crashing into the library and then leave, and then it's Laurie, the tutor, and the old gentleman, and they're all just like,
Anyway, so
yeah, it's just it's funny, and it's not, they have like stories of their own, but they're just around
Like
the
secondary,
girls'
like a lot of women
stories.
are in,
Exactly,
like,
and also I think the other thing is that in everyone's perception of Little Women is that Jo is Louisa May Alcott, and everyone else is like the siblings. But I think what was really interesting is Greta's take on it is that all of the sisters they're so different and they're so complicated, but they're all parts of Louisa May Alcott. They're all part of the same person. They're so different, yet they keep coming back to each other all the time. All of them are so unbelievably different. Like, and the character building they managed in this film is so good. With Amy's whole, I think Amy's really fascinating because in previous adaptations she's always just been like, she's just a spoiled brat. Like, Jo got mad at her in the 2019 one because she was like, oh, Amy always gets out of the difficult parts of everything. And I guess there potentially could be some confusion as to why she turns around and marries Laurie, because she was like, oh, I really want to marry well because that's what I need to do in order to live a good life. And she was just like following the steps. She was nice to Aunt March, so she got into Europe, and then now she's in Europe, she's now going to marry someone and get money, and then she's going to live well and like look after her family. But I think because she loved Laurie anyway, I think her brain is so logical. She's like, well, I love him anyway, and he wants to marry me, and he's got money, so I'm just gonna marry him.
Yeah, to please everyone.
Because that's the logical thing to do. It doesn't really matter how he feels about me because he wants to marry me. It's like, whatever. Like, I just need to follow these steps and do what I'm supposed to do, even if it's like tea, because obviously Laurie and Jo are such a thing. Emma Watson you can tell I've been watching a lot of interviews. So Emma Watson also said, the other reason they all go on these like huge arcs and like go through so much, they come back together at the end, and I think it just shows that there's no one way to be like a strong woman, I guess. Like, they all go through such different things. Like, Meg wants to have a family and she wants to get married, but she still goes through this whole, like, she has this like issue with money and like how she like gets frustrated and she gets jealous, and like learning how to like deal with those emotions and learning what matters. And then there's Jo, basically determined not to do what society's telling her to do, and she's going to do what she wants. And then she kind of learns that if she wants to be happy and do what society expects, then that's also okay for her to do. And then obviously there's Beth, who like goes through this whole thing of like just being kind and gentle, and it's so tragic because her being kind and gentle is her demise. And then it's Amy. Did I do Amy? And there's Amy just like following like the steps of like what she should do, and learning how to kind of stand on her own feet and make her own decisions, and not always doing what it potentially is expected of her, because it definitely wasn't expected for her to marry Laurie. But it's, I don't know. And Greta does this film so well because because she was an actor herself, she has this really, really good hearing and like for the way a film sounds. And one of the most endearing qualities of this film to me is the chatter. The girls are always talking over each other. And I've watched so many clips of Greta Gerwig making them do it again and again. And she wrote the scripts where there are dashes and where it's so unbelievably choreographed of when every single person comes in each time. Like, it's not just ad-libbing. It's like everyone's saying something specific at specific times. Oh. So whenever they come like crashing into a room, like all of them making so much noise at the same time, it's like music, it's like a dance, and it's just like so nostalgic. I don't know, and it's so cute and it's so nice, and they're just so close. I think what you said was like, there's no way these girls are that close, but like they didn't have anywhere else to go. They literally, we always talk about how we're too close, but you always say like we're too close, and it's because we spend so much freaking time with each other. Yeah. We do this, we live together, and like on like some of the same like courses, which means that we like in the same units and stuff. But it's like they didn't even have that. Like, at least we go off and talk to other people at other points during the day. You know what I mean? Like, I go to work, and like when you're like, you like go clubbing with B, and then I do whatever. You know what I mean? Like, we have that time to like separate. I always mention B on the podcast, but they didn't have that. They literally didn't go anywhere. They only stayed in the same house, I think, under each other's feet.
I think I said that as well because like all the Christmas scenes are very lovely, and it's just very like I mean, obviously not when like spoiler Beth dies or whatever, but it's very like picturesque, like movie Christmas, movie family, like, oh, we're all sisters and we live together and our mum's lovely, and no one really shouts apart from when they burn their books, but then, you know, we solve it all out, but she nearly dies and I care about her really. Like, I you know, in the film I like it, it's just it's not my experience in life. And so I'm always like, no one's that close. Like, my family's not that close. Like it's at Christmas dinner, no one's arguing, and wow, the dad lives with them. I don't know.
I get
female relation. Like, there's many female relationships. Like, even with their aunt, even though she's like, you know, a bit snooty, like they all kind of like her, and they're all, hi, Aunt Marge, and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's nice that these like all positive female relationships. 'Cause I feel like you don't really get that in film. I mean, it's positive, but not true to my life anyway. But
I feel like it is really positive, and it's such like a cute, like, it's gorgeous to look at. But also, you know, they do argue and hate each other, and I hate you, and they're so passionate about everything that they do that they always like yelling at each other or like fighting each other on the floor and it's just, and you can tell it's autobiographical as well because there are so many little bits that just are so stupid. Like when Amy got her foot stuck in the mold she was making for Laurie.
Oh, yeah.
Or like when Meg got her hair taken off by the...
Yeah.
It's just stuff like that, those extra little details that are so endearing. But I think one of the best things that, other than... I mean, obviously the score's great, but one of the best things that Greta Gerwig gives this film are two things. And the first thing is the filter she uses on all the childhood scenes versus the harsh light of the later scenes, because it can be quite tricky because obviously it's a non-linear plot. It is always cutting backwards and forwards between when they're girls and when they're adults, and the lighting, like the parallel of Joe coming down, it gets me every time. The parallel of Joe coming downstairs the two times after Beth is ill, and like the first time like it's all like golden, she comes round and then she sees like Beth sitting at the table, and the second time she comes down so slowly in one shot, and it's so cold and horrible, and it's the house that we felt safe in and felt like nothing bad could happen in suddenly is like completely like empty and like harsh and horrible, and it's like really cool. And it was one of the first films I watched when I was and then I was like, because this is in my top 4, and it was one of the first times I watched a film was like where that was like really cool, like the way they did that was like really, really cool. And then the second thing that Greta Gerwig does is she finds this extra, like, I think what I didn't say with Dasha is that I think a really good director, when they're being really loyal to the source material, manages to find the magic, but also find the subtext of what the author was trying to say. And I think with Louisa May Alcott, if you look at her real life, it's very obvious that the book that she came out with is not the book she would have written if she had lived today. She would have written something very, very different that was so much more explicitly like feminist. because she published in a world where that wasn't possible. But what Greta Gerwig manages to do is she manages to find the subtext to kind of what Alcott was saying after 150 years of like really serious radical change. Like, as I said, like Amy's monologue. Guys, we're sorry for the technical difficulties. If you see a change in format, that's because it doesn't matter.
We're sorry, it's not our fault.
It's not our fault. Technology is useless. Stop developing AI and come up with a good camera that's reasonably priced. Thanks.
Oh my god. If anyone from Red or Nikon or Sony cameras wants to donate a fucking camera to us, please.
Plus a camera crew, because we don't know what we're doing.
Please email us at dvddiariess
at gmail.com. See our full description for full details. Okay, so we need to wrap up because it's late. We need to get up at 7 a.m. tomorrow. So I guess, I don't know. The only last point I just want to make is that although Greta Gerwig potentially takes some liberties with the original source material in developing it into a much more feminist narrative than it would have been originally, it's stuff like the chapter that they add on, which is Joe like falling in love with the guy, is called Under the Umbrella, and in real life chapter 46 of the book is called Under the Umbrella. Yeah, so even though it's not the most like faithful of adaptations, I feel like it takes the original source material and runs with it as a modern audience want to see it. And it's just very beautiful and lovely, and you guys should watch it because it's also quite a Christmassy film because like there's Christmas in it. So as Christmas is coming up, our house is now fully decorated for Christmas. So I feel like you guys should watch it. It's honestly so good, and again, it is in my top 4, and I just love it so much. Ash, your turn.
Speaking.
If you could keep it in 20 minutes, that'd be good because I need to go to bed.
Of top 4. Wow.
Because I only talk for like
half an hour. Twilight, New Moon, and Rachel has never seen any of the Twilight movies because we literally don't have 2 seconds so far in the day.
Did I ask? Sorry, I didn't really ask what you thought of Little Women at all. I just kind of
because Rachel had never seen Twilight. I just kind of gave her a little synopsis. I mean, it's not hard to give a synopsis of Twilight.
It actually was quite hard. I was very lost and confused, but when I watched the film, it was okay.
Yeah, I feel like New Moon kind of gives you a synopsis anyway. So yeah, we watched New Moon, which is one of my top 4, and also relates to Little Women because it's scored by what's his name, Andre Desplat, who we both love. Like, he's like the GOAT. I'm sorry, like his scores are so unique. He does a lot of Wes Anderson films as well. And he did Benjamin Button last week. Go and watch our episode on Benjamin Button on like our director's episode because that was fire, and he also does that. So. What was your opinion on this film? Because you've never seen it.
I think I need to see all of them because I actually think that potentially hindered my
really?
Yeah, because like I don't know, because I didn't, it launched straight back into where the characters were. You didn't have like any build up to where they were at. I felt like it started quite quickly, so there was a lot of like I felt the characters were so unreliable. They kept changing their minds about everything. It was like, I'm in love with you. No, I'm not. Oh, I lied before, I love you now. And I just, I was just, and because I didn't have there wasn't really any context for that. It just like kept happening. I was sitting there like, can everyone just like make up their minds about things? I don't know. But I did really like it. And I thought like the score was really good. And the acting was really good. I like struggle a little bit. And I think I'm like my dad in this way where when it comes to stuff that's like our world but like slightly removed, so it's like it's our world but it's where everyone's like werewolves and vampires and stuff. I find it much harder to properly engage with, like really properly and like really immersive, because I'm like there's part of me that's just sitting back like, well,
that's not bloody real.
Well, that's not real. Like, I don't know, and I feel that way with, but it's then different when it's like, I don't know why I keep talking about Harry Potter, but like it's different when it's Harry Potter, and it's different when it's like Stranger Things, because Harry Potter takes you to Hogwarts, and it's not, I mean, it is our real world, but it takes you places that's different and unrecognizable. And with Stranger Things, it takes you back to the 80s, and it's so like different. So it's like our world, but it's like different enough that it doesn't really bother me. But me and my dad are the exact same. Like, he completely agrees. He doesn't like it when it's just the fact that like they were like in the wood, and like it was all very like recognizable, and they were just at school, and it was like, so aside from I feel like I was just set up not very well for this film. That's completely my fault, not yours. I should have watched the first one, but I didn't watch the first one, so I didn't have context. And then it was like in the context of like modern day, I guess. So then I was like, I don't know. I did like it though. Like I rated it well. Like it was it was a good film.
I love this film. I don't necessarily think it's a great film. It's one of my favorites. I don't care if it's great. Like, even though people shit on the Twilight films, like, they're not great films, and I don't think they're meant to be great. Like, they're crowd pleasing from a well-known book series. But like, Alexander Desplat is great. The directing's good. The like cinematography.
It is really good. Yeah. It is.
People shit on Kristen Stewart all the time for her performance. It's how Bella acts in the fucking books, people. Oh, she bites her lips and is so awkward. Yeah, she's like that in the book. Stephanie Meyer writes her to be like an awkward little freak, and I'm sorry, she just is.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Do not shit on my girl.
I'll leave you alone in a second, but I feel like the other thing is that when I've watched films that are yours, they're always very like, this is very, very different to all of the other stuff that you've shown me. The other stuff is like obviously insanely good. And then, so when it went from like Fight Club to like Twilight, they're just so like different. So it was like me watching it and I was sitting there, I was like, but this isn't like groundbreaking. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was sitting there, I was like,
it's not.
No. It's not, but it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
I think
it's because I was raised on Twilight. Like,
I wasn't.
You watched it today.
Yeah.
And I watched it when I was 8 years old, even though it's a 12. My mom.
And I watched Little Women when I was 12. So there you go.
My mum and my sister loved... I mean, they were coming out, like, when, I was growing up. So my mum and my sister would, like, go and see them at the cinema, and my mum would read all the books, and, like, my mum brought me up on them, basically. And I just love them so much. And biggest regret in my life is not going to see Breaking Dawn Part 2 in the cinema in 2012, because my sister and my mum was like, oh, do you want to come? And I was, like, 8 years old, and was like... oh, no, I think it'll be too scary. And obviously, they probably wouldn't have let me in anyway. It would have been too scary. But, yeah. When I was younger, Breaking Dawn Part 1 was my favourite because of the wedding. But New Moon has become my favourite. And I read the books in, like, the summer of 2023, I think, for the first time. And then I recently... I got Spotify Premium over the summer. So I listened to the audiobook of New Moon again this summer. And even though I think Eclipse is my favourite book, but... the New Moon book is just so good. Like, in the film, they try and justify a lot. Like, so basically the plot is Edward and Bella madly in love, Edward's a vampire, and blah, blah, blah. They're like, it's not really set up in the movies, but I'll get into the difference in a second. But, like, Bella's kind of an outcast, and then she falls in love with this vampire who really gets her, and they're just so, like, deep in love. And then in New Moon, he just decides to, like, after his, like, vampiric brother Jasper, like, attacks Bella, he's like, I actually can't do this anymore, you don't belong in my world, like, goodbye, I'll leave you alone forever, like, you don't deserve this. So Bella becomes, like, devastated, and then the whole process that goes through where, like, then Bella's, like, jumping off cliffs and talking to her friend Jacob. She realises Jacob's a werewolf, blah, 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 and then another vampire's trying to kill her. Then she jumps off a cliff to try and see Edward again. He thinks she's dead. She goes and saves her. They're in love again. And he promises to turn her into a vampire. And the process of Edward leaving Bella, in the film, it's very haunting. Like, there's this scene where in the book, the pages of the book just say October, November, December, and they're blank. Like, because
that's cool.
She becomes, like, in a catatonic state. Like, no one can talk to her. In the film, it's not really said, like, in the scene where it just shows, like, October, November, December, and she's sat in the same place, in the same clothes by her window pane, like, she has a bay window in her room, and you can just see the seasons changing outside, like, her dad sweeping leaves, and she just sat there and, like, staring into space. And I think that is such a good way to show, like, these blank pages in the book, because she doesn't move. Like, the film kind of doesn't show you the extent of... First of all, it makes her dad a better person. Like, Charlie's kind of lovable. He's cast by an attractive guy. Like, you can't help but love him and think, like, he cares about her. He's worried when she leaves for Italy and, like, doesn't come back.
Is he not lovable in the book?
Well, no, in the book, he actually sucks.
Oh.
Like, he's just kind of neglectful. Like, in New Moon, Bella has to, like, cook and clean for him all the time. Like, he if she doesn't cook and clean for him, he won't do it, and he'll get takeout. Or there's a scene in the book where he tries to make spaghetti for himself. By the way, grown ass man and leader of the police force in Forks, and he puts dry pasta with no water into a pan and sets it on fire and burns it, and puts a whole jar of sauce with the lid on in the microwave and explodes it. And Bella, who's just turned 18 in this book, has to come home and be like, Dad, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I tried to make dinner for myself. Grown ass man.
Crazy.
And like in her catatonic state, it is so much more depressing in the book. And I understand why you can't sell a saga where this girl's just depressed for half of this movie. But this is why I like the book better. But I think the film does capture it sometimes, where she's literally catatonic. She's suicidal. She becomes she stops eating in the book. Like in the film, they kind of show her being alone at lunch, and you don't really see her eating. But it'd be kind of dark if they were like in the.
I feel like they should have.
I know,
because, I mean, this is all news to me. Because I think it would make you understand her more. It kind of makes her look rational and irrational at the same time. It looks like she's just being a little bit annoying and
it looks like he's
strange.
being dramatic over a boy.
Yeah, it does.
When in real life, her mum, she left
That's exactly
her mum
what it
in
looks
Phoenix, and her mum came to see her when she was in this catatonic state. Charlie, her dad, didn't know what to do, and so he got her mum Renee to come and your daughter's ill, she don't know what to do. And so Renee comes and sees her in this catatonic state, and Renee goes, I can't really help her. I don't know what you want me to do, and leaves her. Her parents don't give a fuck.
That would have been such a fun thing to add in the film, because the only line they get is oh, you're going to your mother's. Oh, I'm going shopping tomorrow. Oh, all right, never mind then.
Yeah,
that's the only interaction you get.
And it's I understand why you can't sell such a depressing thing to
It doesn't take much. An extra line or something would have been nice.
I think Kristen Stewart, and I think I don't know this for a fact, but she's in this movie called Speak when she was 15 or younger, where she plays this anorexic, depressed girl, and she does such a great job. People shit on Kristen Stewart. Actually, Kristen Stewart haters, leave the channel. Click off, because she does such a great job at playing a depressed girl in that movie, and I think that's why she got cast in Twilight. If I was casting her, that's why I cast her for New Moon, because she just does so great. And in the movie, there's this scene, because obviously you can't show her being depressed for months, which she's writing emails to Alice over narration, when in the books you see the emails and things. Obviously you can't spend too much time on her just lying around and writing emails and not eating, because who's going to want to watch that? No one. And she has nightmares about, they're not even about Edward leaving her, they're surreal and scary. But in the film, you don't see that. They have a deleted scene of these centipedes typing on a laptop, and Edward being crouched over her. I'll show you the deleted scene later. I wish I would have shown you before we recorded, but whatever. And Edward's crouched over her, and she's like, "Oh, Edward, what are you doing?" And he's like, "That's not my name." And she's like, "Well, who are you then?" And he goes, "I'm you." And it's just these creepy, surreal, and there's a wolf watching her. And when dreams are surreal and they're scary just because they're weird and weird things are happening. And I wish they kept that scene in, because it just shows she's not just crying over oh, get over herself, just crying over a lad. No,
because that's what it looks like.
Because that's what the movie makes it look like when you delete these deleted scenes. And they show in the Volturi scene, they show in the scene where the Volturi and Alice and Edward and Bella are in a lift for 10 seconds. That could have been deleted. Put the centipede scene in. I'm waiting. It's like she's just heartbroken over a guy, which she is. Later on in Breaking Dawn, when she actually becomes a vampire, not to spoil it, but she describes how
I did not see that coming.
I was totally shocked by this idea. She never felt herself when she was human. She never felt normal. She was always destined to become a vampire, is what she said. And it's because her mum doesn't give a shit about her. Her dad's neglectful. Her friends are weird. And, no one's ever give a shit about her apart from Edward and Carlisle and the whole family who accept her. And I feel like when you take away these things that are in the book, and obviously you can't put everything in the book, but they had a deleted scene of this one thing that would just show you. Like, and it's just like little things. Like, there's one line in this whole movie that relates to Jasper, who's Edward's brother. His power, because some of the vampires have powers, is to control people's moods. And there is one line in this movie where, like, it's Bella's birthday, and she doesn't really give a shit, and then Jasper makes her happy, and she goes like, Jasper, no fair with the mood changing thing. And he goes like, oh, sorry, Bella, happy, never mind. And it's like, that is not explained, and that's the only time it's brought up in all of, I just picked the mic really bad, in all of the movies.
In all of the movies.
And like,
that's so weird.
I know.
It's not in the books though, I assume.
Yes, it is in the book. Like,
no, I mean like they bring it up more in the books. Surely.
Yeah, it's a whole part of his character. In Eclipse, he was a Civil War like general, and he built an army of newborn vampires and mood controlled them. Like he convinced them to be a part of this other vampire's army. Like that is an integral point to his, vampiric character. Not to deep New Moon. But one thing I think the movie does do better is, like, I think some of the dialogue is way better and less, like, wordy. And I'm sorry, I don't know who redid the script. I do apologise. But, like, when Bella, like, runs to save Edward when he's trying to expose himself to the humans, and, like, he, like, shines in the daylight, and Bella's, like, running to get him, like, she crashes into him. And in the movie, Edward just says heaven.
Yeah.
And he's showing, like, his eyes are closed and, like, the sun's beaming down on him. And it does look like heaven. And why would he not think it's heaven? Like,
yeah.
And I think
it's cute.
And in the book, he, like, says this whole bloody essay about, like, when they're still in the sun. And he's like, blah, 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 blah. Like, we don't care, just move. Like, that one shot, like, of the white and him just, like, caressing Bella's hair, like, that is one thing that films can do way better. Like, I don't need a whole paragraph, Stephanie Meyer. Like, that one word heaven just really is great.
But it's like, because you obviously get the visual element in the restaurant. I'm really starting to sweat now, by the way.
Yeah, I don't like Stephanie Meyer as a writer, by the way.
Why?
Boo.
Why? She mean?
She has really racist tendencies, like with the casting, like Laurent, who is the vampire with the dreadlock.
Don't know.
Who in the meadow, and she's like, and he's like,
we'll put in a picture.
Yeah.
I can't be asked, guys. Sorry, getting a photo now.
Technical difficulties again. We're gonna have a tech meeting. Please do not worry.
I told you to have one before.
We've been busy. Well,
true.
Next weekend.
I've been gone all weekend.
Don't worry, guys. Stay tuned for next episode where hopefully we'll have tech issues. But like Laurent, like Stephanie Meyer was really against the casting of Laurent because she put out, like, there's a Twilight illustrated guide, which I own, and she's like, vampires can't have melanin because when they get turned into a vampire, their melanin gets sucked out by the venom, so they're all white skinned. And so she was really like, I swear,
it's so dumb because it's like they're vampires, baby girl. They're not
also,
real, are they? I'm still looking at the camera.
You make up the law, Stephanie.
Yeah. If you're making the law,
like, who decided that vampires can't have melanin?
You did.
You in your illustrated guide. And also, like, you haven't seen this yet, but wolves can imprint on people, which is like really serious. Like, you can only imprint once, and it's really intense.
What is it?
And it's like intense love for someone, right? So you can be so basically, not to spoil the movie.
Don't spoil it. You're not allowed.
Anyway, so Stephanie Meyer says that imprinting isn't just romantic. It can be anything. It can be brotherly love, friend love, like it's just a really intense feeling that you can't shake, okay? But the thing is, Stephanie Meyer, when you say that and then only show every single iteration of imprinting as romantic, and then you have someone imprinting on a minor multiple times in your lore, and then it always becoming romantic when that child becomes of age, it's disgusting.
Yeah, that is weird.
And also, like, with the Native American, the Quileute tribe is a real tribe who do have legends of being descended from wolves. I think that could have been a cool thing that she could have taken from their tribe with consent from, the leaders of the tribe.
She didn't get consent.
She did not get consent, and they also did not
Oh my
receive
gosh.
any money. Like, the Quileute tribe did not receive any financial compensation for their name, lore, whatever being
For their
used.
culture being profited of, yeah.
Literally. And also, it's like, Native Americans have a really strong connection with their hair.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
That is a big thing. And, like, having Jacob cut it off, I don't know, it just really rubs me the wrong way. I just really don't like Stephenie Meyer. Like, I do really like the books. I like what she does with Bella's character, because Bella is a self-insert character for Stephenie Meyer as well. But I like what the writers take from the book and do with themselves, and like, the cinematography is really beautiful. Again, it's the argument of books. They have more information in, but you can't do that. Like, all the Volturi, like, their powers, like Jane's power goes really into depth, and like, I know her history, and that enriches the film for me. And Jane's meant to be a little kid. They're meant to be, her and her brother Alec are meant to be like literally 9 years old, and I wish that had been better. Like, it's just things that, like, I love them, and like, if you watch a film and then read the book, it'll enrich the movie more for you, and you know, vice versa, hopefully. But you can't have that all the time. You can't have your cake and eat it too. New Moon's not a great film. New Moon's not a great book. They both have their flaws. They both have their strengths. And, you know, they work in combination with each other. I know people have these big debates, not debate, but conversation, like we did with Dasha earlier. Like,
Yeah.
She likes, you know, only books because she doesn't like the way films do it. But I feel like they can work in tandem sometimes, like with New Moon. Like, I like both for different reasons, and I think they both enrich each other. So how about them apples?
How about them apples?
I think they get worse as they go on. I think New Moon still has the style. When they get like higher budget, they become like they don't shoot in the forest anymore. Really, it's all like
That's nice.
on a blue screen. Holy cow, I can't.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching,
yeah.
probably listening to this episode, because there are 3 different freaking formats going on. 4 once I put the stupid picture on.
Yay! We will
sorry.
have a tech meeting,
It's
but
not
I
my.
think this was a really good episode.
It was one of the
really
best
long.
for sure. Very long, and we've got 6 hours to get some sleep. 7 hours to get some sleep. So yeah, we're gonna be exhausted. But thank you guys so much for listening. This has been one of the most fun ones so far. This has been so much fun. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Let us know if you like the guests as well.
Yeah,
like,
because I think that was so cool.
Yeah, I think
the mic was a bit annoying, but like
we get in a loop of just talking to each other.
Yeah.
Just being like, yeah.
But it was so good because like whenever you guys were talking, I was like thinking of like points in my head, and it was like brought out a different conversation that we would have had if it was just the two of
Show
us.
some love to Dasha in the comments.
Yeah, like we love
guys.
Dasha. She's awesome, and she did so well. She had like a really long day at work today, and she managed to come in and just like she did really well, because like some people can't flourish in front of the camera, but she did a really, really good job. So proud of her. Bless her.
Yay.
Yeah, go rate us on Spotify, guys, because that's actually really important. If you do that, show us some love. Subscribe everywhere. Let us know what films you want us to cover in an upcoming episode of DVD Diaries. Thank you so much for watching. We love you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
I loved
Bye,
it. I want to
Dasha.
come back.
Can I have my mic
Bye. No.
now? No, stop sharing. It's not very good at
Thank you, Dasha. For
Thank you,
coming
Pookie.
to the
Thank you. This was so
podcast.
interesting.
Why
Why is it like this again?
I have no idea.
Shaking myself for the whole
Don't
thing.
need to know, mate.